Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
Ron is here once again with Nora Ames. How's it going, Nora?
It's good. It's Friday.
It is Friday.
Yes.
I'm heading out of town tomorrow. I'm not telling anybody where, but somewhere where it's freaking cold.
Me too. I'm going out of town.
Are you? Did I already tell you I was going out of town too?
No, but we're not going to the same place, everybody, but we are both going. Hey.
I'll tell you afterwards. I think it was only in my head that when you texted me earlier that you had to get ready for something, I was like, I gotta get ready for something too. Anyway, I'll tell you afterwards. Why the hell am I mentioning that? Oh, because I'm in Florida. You're up in the Pacific Northwest, and I'm in warm weather. You're in cold weather, right?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start out by talking about some Scientology news, and it has to do with the celebrity centers, and you worked at Celebrity Center, so you're a good person to ask about this stuff.
Okay.
So here's how it started. Somebody messaged me saying, hey, the Celebrity Center in Munich just closed down like 2 weeks ago and essentially combined with the Munich org. And I was like, that's interesting. I've heard of that happening at a few other ones like, well, if I say them, I'm probably going to get them wrong. But I remember hearing like CC Las Vegas had merged and maybe CC Portland had merged. Help everyone understand, like when people hear Celebrity Center, they think about the giant, beautiful Celebrity Center in Hollywood where Tom Cruise has a secret entrance and all that kind of crap.
Sure.
But there was 12 Celebrity Centers all over the world. What were the ideas behind these things?
So the point of like the satellite celebrity centers around the world, right? You have Celebrity Center International, located in Hollywood at, right there at, where it is there in that stupid
Franklin. Is that Franklin in Gower, or is Gower somewhere else? I always get it wrong.
It's on Franklin. It's on Franklin, in the French chateau that they purchased, which actually used to house the Guardian's office. That's a whole other story. But at the time they purchased it, the 7th floor was dedicated to the Guardian's office, and then it later became Celebrity Center after the renovations, which the RPF did. And then they took the whole RPF and staffed Celebrity Center with it. Ta-da! They basically like lined the RPF up and were like, what are your skills? And then we're like, you get a job, you get a job, you get a job. And then blah, Celebrity Center, and like also staffed a lot of PAC and stuff as well. So that is how we got our French chef. I will say the French chef, who's probably still there, is a legit French pastry chef from France. I've never had so many arguments with a man about bread in my entire life. He used to get so angry about hot dog buns. Don't get me like PTSD about our hot dog buns, this man. Anyway, but yeah, if you wanted like the French, wedding cake with the little, I don't know what that's called. It's like the little cream puff things that come into like a tower. He would make that for people. Oh my God, like to die. Anyway, I digress because I think about dessert because I have I showed you my little heart-shaped donut there sitting there. Anyway, it's torturing me. Moving on. So Celebrity Center International was a unique Sea Org outside of INT and Gold and everything else because it was the only Class 5 Sea Org organization, as you know. Every other Class 5 org was a regular sauce Scientology organization. But Celebrity Center was a Class 5 org, which was so weird. And then on top of that, it also was like a CLO. So
real quick, let me just tell everyone, Class 5 in this context, it means the only part of the Scientology bridge that they're allowed to deliver is the bottom non-confidential half, which is weird.
Up to clear,
which is weird for an org staffed by Sea Org members to be restricted to only delivering the bottom half of the org. Usually orgs that are staffed by Sea Org members are the ones that deliver the upper level confidential OT levels. So Celebrity Center at that time was pretty much the only Class 5 Sea Org organization in the world. They created another one a few years ago, but So now and then you just said the word CLO. That just means a continental management unit.
Exactly, because it was managing always also this network of satellite organizations like CC Munich that you mentioned, CC Portland, CC Dallas. I'm trying to think the other ones on top of my head. At one time, we were
Nashville,
trying to open Nashville. We were also
Vegas.
trying to Vegas. Yeah, Vegas was always like in flux. There's many times Vegas has closed and opened, even when I was there. And we were trying to open one in Russia for many years. CC Milano, that was Kirsty's baby. She opened that herself, so I'm not surprised that that closed shortly after her death. We were trying to open like a satellite office in Russia, and actually during my recruitment period, it was like, can you learn Russian in a hot minute so that you can like go to Russia? Do you have a passport? That was like the number one question. I was like, yeah, I have a valid passport. Wonderful. We'll send you to Russia to open up CC, Moscow. And I was like, okay, that sounds like fun. Sure, I'll go to Moscow, like whatever. For some reason, Russia was like a hotbed of like where we wanted to like put Scientology. For a minute, we were trying to do one in Canada, but that never like fully came to fruition. I think mostly because the Sea orgs and stuff in Canada were like, we don't really want. No, thank you. And most of the Canadian celebrities like were coming to Celebrity Center International, but it's run very tightly, very weirdly, mostly through the president's office, the way it's run, because it's like networked through the president's office and then adjacently through the CO and like his office are the people that run the network of the other celebrity centers, but mostly the president runs them via her office, and mostly the presidents are women, so via her office, and then the CO also, the executive branch, runs it.
Right. So so there was like 12 there was like 11 celebrity centers.
Yeah.
There was one in Paris
at one time. Yeah. Paris, yes.
Munich, Dusseldorf, Vienna, there's
Milano,
another
and then
Italian
Dallas,
city that,
Nashville. There was one in Rome. No, not Rome. It was another weird Italian city. I can't think. There's another one in
mentioned
Italy.
it earlier this week, but
yeah.
And so,
but yeah.
Yeah. So what's been happening is
once, and then they've been slowly shrinking down. But what happened? You told me 8 of them.
Yeah, like 8 of them have closed down. But what I found out this week is actually, let's take London, for example, CC London.
CC London, that was another one we didn't mention.
It ended up having like 3 staff. And the London org had already bought and renovated its beautiful, brand new, super expensive, giant building. And Celebrity Center was a piece of crap in like a strip mall with 3 staff. So nobody would even want a celebrity to go there. So now, as we know, you're not allowed to close down a Scientology org. It's like an act of treason. So what they did is they renovated some space on the first floor of the London org to have a secret private entrance and a VIP lounge. And they transferred this staff. They shut down the CC London org. They transferred the staff over. And they still call it CC London, but CC London is now just, like on paper for the weekly LRH birthday game standings, there's still a CC London reporting stats, but it just operates out of a corner of the first floor of London org. Now, where this gets really confusing is that London org is managed by the Continental Liaison Office in the United Kingdom. And CC London is supposed to be managed by the Celebrity Center in Los Angeles, but CC London doesn't exist anymore. And that's how this is being treated for like 8 of the 11 orgs of the Celebrity Centers that have closed down. They're actually pretending like they still exist, because even if they just have 1 staff member for the Celebrity Center, they call that person the ED, and that person works out of the org.
Because here's the deal, because they have to have a separate universe for any potential super VIP. Now, a celebrity in Scientology definition is anyone who is, and I'm gonna really try to remember this definition verbatim, and I'm gonna get it terribly wrong. But a celebrity is anybody who's important in their field or like famous, their spouse, their relatives, friends, or like support staff. So it's
Entourage.
like literally their entourage. Thank you. So like, okay, as an example, technically, even though I worked at Celebrity Center, I was also already a celebrity. And I will tell you why. True story. My stepmother, her aunt is Harriet Schock. Harriet Schock is already a celebrity in Scientology. She's a well-known singer-songwriter who wrote several hits for, people are never going to know who this person is, for Helen Reddy in the 70s. She wrote Ain't No Way to Treat a Lady, which was a super gold platinum song for Helen Reddy in the 70s. She also wrote, if you ever watched this movie in the 80s as an 80s baby, the Pippi Longstocking theme song, which I heard before the movie came out. Thank you very much, because she played it for us in the living rooms. I still know that song by heart. So that was my aunt growing up. And so technically, I was already, by that definition, a celebrity, and should have been allowed in the president's office, and should have never been like technically recruited, blah, 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 and should have been like in one of those other categories, right? However, because my parents were pieces of crap ex-GO, that like negated, it's like eating celery after dessert, right? It negated the celebrity status. And so, yeah, they were like, well, we don't really care. You just are, you're a, like, as you know, you're a we come backer. So you should just get back on post kind of a situation. So that's, but circling back to the Celebrity Center thing, it does not shock me that these satellite orgs have like shrunk down to maybe one person in them, because the amount of support that they would get from CCN was none on a weekly basis. Like there's not, unless there was something terrible happened, like in the 90s before I joined, we had a tragedy happen at the Portland org where there was a shooting and someone did pass away as a result of that shooting. Nobody would go on mission to like enter the org to do anything about things that were going on, unless, you know, something terrible had happened, right? Or if something really cool happened, like if they managed to actually get a celebrity in the door and do something, then people would show up to like suck that person away from that teeny tiny org and get them to Celebrity Center International. That's about it.
Right. You know, it's interesting.
We can't have them in the stupid lobby of a gross strip mall. It's gross.
Well, I find it so interesting that in each city where you had a regular Scientology org and a celebrity center, that it seems like in every one of those cases, it's the celebrity center that was an ultra tiny failing org. I know you just basically gave the explanation for that, but I wouldn't have guessed that because like in LA, all the Scientology public are usually secretly trying to get into the celebrity center. That's where they want to be on course. It's like a status thing. And Celebrity Center will go sort of in waves of letting them in and then kicking them out and then letting them in. And kicking them out.
But Aaron, that's so LA, because everybody in LA is an actor. Everybody in LA is writing a screenplay. Everybody in LA is like producing a side film or some bullshit. I mean, like, let's be honest. That's just such an LA thing. And that is the status because, you know, like, as I said last week, like, you know, like part of like the requirement of being a staff member at CC is like, you can't be there for clout. You can't be there to try to get famous. You can't be there to try to meet people. That is also part of being on course there as well. You have to sort of already be in the industry and you have to sort of already be somebody, because if you're there to meet somebody's, that's deuces, because if you're there to bump into TC or, you know, John Travolta or, you know, any of the other, you know, Elizabeth Moss or somebody else who you're trying to be like, oh, if I could just meet so-and-so and figure out who their acting coach is, you know, like that's, you know, because that's not cool. You know, it's like trying to get into the same Peloton class, you know, with somebody and just be like, we could just be best friends. If I could just meet Melissa McCarthy, my life would be complete. You know, like that's not a thing, you know, like
So
she doesn't want to know me.
well, because the Celebrity Center plays such an obvious role in somewhere like LA, it made me, I always wondered, how did there come to be a Celebrity Center Portland or Dallas or I guess I understand Nashville. I understand New
Right.
York, but it's
Mhm.
like, it seemed that I guess there's an assumption that each one of these cities is somehow a hotbed for the arts, because it doesn't have to be actors. It could be musicians. It could be
Right.
anything,
But it could
really.
also be industries of business. Those people are important in their field. So it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have to necessarily be the arts. It can also be people who are important in their field, right? So people
Sure.
can be famous for many reasons. They could be philosophers, they could be scientists, they could be businessmen. But let's just face it, we're talking about bank accounts here. So if you got the cheddar and you are a VIP because
Yeah.
of the cheddar and because of your clout, and you have status in the world, you know, the Kardashians don't have any talent, but they would be VIPs. I mean, they're not, you know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. I mean, yes, they are business people. Let's be honest. The Kardashians are business people. They are not actors. They are not performers of any kind. They are straight up business people, right? They would be on the VIP list because
Sure.
they're great at business. I'm not knocking them, man. They have like pumped it out, like, you know,
Yeah.
100%.
Well, I can tell you that if some big baller or famous person ended up in the Philadelphia org, and the Sea Org got a whiff of that, they would definitely be trying to get that person to become a flag public in Clearwater.
Yes.
Either flag or Celebrity Center, but probably flag.
Right.
I guess what I'm saying here is that even in a place like Portland or Nashville or New York, you think there would be personalities who are like, oh, there's a Celebrity Center. I want to go there. And yet the Celebrity Centers in each of these places seem to be the crappier building. Why didn't Celebrity Center International, that made a ton of money, seem to care about these outer orgs?
Because they were supposed to do the same formula that Celebrity Center did. Like, one thing that Dave Pettit did, like, and this is where the real estate scam that the International Landlord Office has going, that is the greatest real estate scam of the entire century, is going on. So Scientology landlord office goes out and finds building A, usually some form of historic building in a community, and buys this building for the Church of Scientology. They buy it under their trust. They buy it under whatever corporate name. They purchase this building outright. They don't buy it under a mortgage. Like, let's be honest, they have purchased this building outright. And now they renovate the building. And you and I both know where that labor comes from. That does not come from a contractor that they are paying money to. That it comes from the RPF. It comes from Dex. It comes from the mill. It comes from inside sources. There's very little outside contracted work that gets done to renovate that building. So they're saving a boatload of cash on that. Once the building is renovated, there is an event that David Miscavige stars in. And he says, look at our beautiful building. It is now staffed with all this BS design that some 12-year-old designed, with all the angles and the things. And this, it just looks like a spaceship from, the 20s. Okay, so then the staff go in there. And now it is org ABC for ABC Town. Once that org is in there, as you know, they now have to pay a mortgage to the international landlord for their building monthly. Okay.
So rent. I mean, they're basically paying rent to the landlord's office.
They're paying rent now to the international landlord's office, but it's actually a mortgage. So now they owe for however much the International Landlord's Office has decided now that this renovated building is worth. They put a market value on the building now after the renovations. So what Dave Pettit did is, because he wanted to get our budget down at Celebrity Center, because we were spending, like out of the $125,000 we had to spend per month, like 10 grand of that, or weekly, sorry, I had to go to the landlord's office. So he was like, what's that called? Sandbagging some money like aside. And he was like he created a secret account where he was like savings account, just savings. And he was like not feeding us properly for months. And then one day just cut the landlord's office this huge check and paid off this debt to own our building outright. So we did not have to pay this debt anymore. And it caused such a hullabaloo with the landlord's office. Like they were pissed because
they were pissed that the debt got paid off.
Yes, because they weren't going to get this sweet, sweet money every month from us, right? So then they were like, what the F? Then he, not only had he been sandbagging money for that, he had been secretly sandbagging money to purchase the apartment building across the street himself, because he didn't want to go through their process of like that whole thing, right? So he had already staked out the apartment building across the street to make it crew berthing. And because Celebrity Center already owned the Wilcox outright, he was starting to negotiate the sale of the Wilcox privately. And they were like, what? Like people were losing their mind because he was going around like the whole landlord office, and he was going to sell the Wilcox out from under them, which it was costing 10 cents a night to birth every person, right? So because he wasn't spending this money to the landlord, and he wasn't sending money to our outer orgs, which clearly needed it because he had this real estate empire of his own in mind. Now, Celebrity Center International has now spent probably sandbagged more money to purchase almost every apartment building around it. They now have a fortress around them of all of the little apartments. Now, all of the people who lived in those apartment buildings around there, they had to do like, per the law, they had to give people notice, and then they had to pay them, whatever they had to pay them. But most of them were Scientologists that lived, especially in the huge apartment building that I partially renovated when I was on the RPF. They had to, those people, when they wouldn't take the tiny, like the bare minimum amount that per law they had to pay, when they started balking, like, how am I supposed to find another apartment within 2 weeks? Like, how dare you kick me out? They were just like, oh, well, we've been calling over your ethics files, and it looks like, you've been doing this, that, and this. And they just literally started coming and like raking people over the coals, like who were balking at not taking this money. And just started like evicting people left and right. I think they ended up having to like settle some sort of like civil case with one person who was willing to like leave the church over it, because they were just like, are you, like, they had been in the building like almost 20 years or something. And we're like, no, you're not, like, and I was like, you're not gonna.
So this is the old Shangri-La building?
Oh, no, that was one of the last ones. I'm talking about the one that's like, if you're in the parking lot, the one that's directly across from the parking lot.
What's that one called? I forget. I used to stay there actually. Ugh. Okay.
I don't even remember, but I renovated that one while I was on the RPF. I can't remember the name of it, but that was the first one that they purchased. So that's what they were spending money on. And, it's not like it went to extravagance. I mean, there was never any like weird extravagance inside Celebrity Center that we had. The only other thing that money went to inside Celebrity Center that Dave Pettit personally was obsessed with was our end of the year party. Like when we would win the birthday game, was all of us going to Disneyland for the day. And then we would have like a big party at Disneyland. And I know that costs a lot of money because that's like 300 people going to Disneyland. So that's all of the tickets. us eating at the Blue Bayou, and then having like a buffet dinner at the Disney hotel. So I have no idea. Like, and that was in the 90s. So that has to cost like 25 grand. Like, and they paid for it. We didn't pay anything to do that. So that was like a set aside too. But that's not, you know, I mean, 25 grand going to 12 orgs. What's that? I mean, you know.
Yeah.
And they had to tithe to us. Part of their money came to us. So they were
the Celebrity Center Network people.
Yeah. And so they would be upset when they weren't doing well. So again, no understanding from my end on why there wouldn't be more investment on them doing better, you know?
Right. So, okay, here's a question from Liz Turner. Canadian celebrities, Nora, besides Haggis, name names.
Canadian celebrities. The only one that I know of is what's his face, who was on Veronica Mars. Isn't he Canadian?
Veronica Mars. Oh, Doring?
Yeah. Isn't Jason Doring Canadian?
I don't know.
Or is he American?
I don't know. Let me Google.
I can't remember.
Scientology Canadian celebrities.
Is it Canadian Paul? Yeah, Haggis. Yeah, Haggis is Canadian, but I don't know if Jason Doring's Canadian or not.
Famous Canadian takes on Scientology. Nope, it's all about Paul Haggis.
Yeah.
Well, that's why there's no celebrity centers up there.
Yeah.
But someone,
and I got really confused for a second because I almost forgot about Paul Haggis because he left, and then I thought she was asking about the Scottish food. So yeah.
Let me see. There was another one here. Silo Simon. I heckin' love the interviews with Nora. Thank you both, Aaron and Nora. So, wouldn't it be considered? Wouldn't someone at Celebrity Center get absolutely nuked for one of these outlying network orgs having to combine with a local Scientology org?
I think I don't even know how the president's office is still alive right now. I don't know. I don't know who the current president is. But yeah, they're in deep doo-doo. Oh, he was born in Ohio. All right. Well, then no, he's not Canadian. He's just obnoxious. Okay, well, that's fine. That tracks that he's from Ohio then. Tyler Hines. Okay, there you go.
Who is that?
Tyler Hines is another, but he looks a lot like Jason Doring, so that's confusing. But yeah, he's another little actor guy. Yeah. It's not like he hasn't done anything super in a while, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know who that is.
You gotta get out more.
Yeah, so it makes me wonder if, I guess here's another piece of intel someone can shoot us on the down low confidentially, is whether these celebrity centers that are combined with their local org are still being managed by CCN. How do you manage an org that doesn't exist? Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, they're still doing it via,
the telexes.
Yeah, come on. Scientology is, unfortunately for all of us. Somebody asked me the other day about because they watch your show where I work, and they were very excited I was going to be on your show. But you're very famous everywhere. But I was saying to them, I was revealing to them about all the the sites around the world that are real, where unfortunately they've preserved all the stupid tech on the titanium plates and all that other bullshit. But Scientology is going to be the last place in the world where we can communicate with one another if the apocalypse does happen, because of this telex network, right? Because it's like the last hard lines in the whole world, right?
Yeah.
Like, nobody else has these hard lines of communication anymore.
There's no hard telex line.
They still have. I'm telling you right now.
No.
Okay, because of they still have these hard lines.
The telexes these days are just freaking emails.
I don't know about that.
Okay, but I'll tell you what they do have. And I don't know. Scientologists don't know this. There are direct microwave connections between the int base, the CST bases, ASI, PAC, direct private microwave communication links. Maybe that's not as crazy awesome as I mean, when I heard that, I was like, what?
Yeah, but apparently those big old ass antennas and stuff.
Yeah, apparently that's not terribly uncommon, but like literally int can communicate directly and confidentially with PAC through the microwaves.
Yeah.
Like the microwave dish.
They
There's direct,
it.
they have direct line of sight. I never knew that. I was like, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me because that whole other, what's that one org that just does income? Those, the CIA of the Sea organization. Those guys who do all the crazy stuff. But I mean, yeah, I mean, if anybody out there is, like I say 100 million times, now that we have all the celebrity centers combining with the regular orgs, right? And the first step has happened already. Like we got rid of the RPF. Apparently that's all gone now because, people like me and other people have been speaking out. And so they had to get rid of that. But I've always said, everybody's now, they can't find David Miscavige. He's in hiding. He's somewhere. Here's the deal. Everybody listen up. Like law enforcement, like, come on, take a hot tip. Like there's an event coming up. It's called March 13th. It's L. Ron Hubbard's birthday. He's there every year. He's not going to miss his starring appearance. He is a narcissistic, crazy person. He can't miss the chance to talk in front of people. It's his favorite thing ever. He gets to put on his shiny little suit and he gets to stand on the stage that is made just for him to make him look tall. Like, come on, we all know he loves the We Stand Tall song so much. And like he has to salute and get saluted at. And like it's his favorite thing. Okay. So he will be talking somewhere in the world. All you have to do, and you have enough FBI agents, you have enough Homeland Security. We know you're staffed. Okay. Like, please don't tell me it's a staffing problem. All right. You know where the orgs are located. It's in the directories. You know where these things are. Okay. Send agents to all the orgs, to all the little, like gathering places where all the little Scientologists are going to be to watch these events. He will be at one of them. Okay. Because they only have so many places. And whichever one he's actually at, go get him. Okay. Because this is your job. Like, it's not that hard to figure out. Or he's at one of Tom Cruise's many houses. Okay. It's that or that. Like, it's really simple. He's not that hard to find. He's not very tall. Just look for the extremely like Botox face. Okay. Like, please, please, please. Can we find this tiny man and just be done with this already? Like, it's just ridiculous. And then once we finally dismantle this, we need to destroy all of these ridiculous sites that have these titanium plates and these ridiculous recordings of L. Ron Hubbard's voice, so that when the apocalypse happens and 10,000 years from now, we have another society digging up our archaeology, they do not discover this and decide this was the religion of mankind from ancient times and try to make sense of it. Okay? I beg of you, everyone, please. We cannot leave this for future humanity.
That's funny. All right, here, check this out, because I actually have the thing that is being asked for here from Ms. Pelot. Somebody someday would love to see the gigantic schematic of the entire Scientology organizational structure and how the money flows. A cheat sheet of all the acronyms would also be helpful in understanding all of it. Love the Nora chats. So check this out. I actually have something here. You ready for this?
Oh, I want to see it.
Kablooey organizational chart.
Boom. Oh my
God.
blow
this up.
Oh my God. This is bringing back so many memories.
I gotta go full screen on this puppy. There we go.
I have not seen an org chart in 3,000 years. Oh my God.
Oh, the resolution's not
look at how he obnoxiously spelled it the British way, bureau with a UX. What a dick. What a butthead. Like, get over yourself. God.
So it's funny. This is such an old version of the command chart that it says class
Right.
4 organization instead of class 5.
Right.
And yet fundamentally nothing has really changed
No,
except
it's exactly the same.
that Miscavige has completely disassembled the international management structure at the very top. From
And
Watchdog
WDC, I don't think exists anymore.
Watchdog Committee doesn't exist, and the executive
Right.
director international and his juniors don't exist. I thought I had a
Right,
better
because
resolution
Guillaume
copy of
is
this
gone.
somewhere.
Where's Guillaume?
Yeah.
Poor Guillaume.
Let me see if this other PDF version is actually better resolution. Hold on, give me
Guillaume
one
was actually
second.
such a nice guy.
Okay,
You
I
couldn't
got a better
understand a
version.
thing he said at an event, but he was a sweetheart. Okay, everyone, welcome to the event. We're going to talk about the statistics.
Okay,
Everybody is set up in vertical.
Okay, so check this out. This is better
He was just
resolution.
enthusiastic. All right. Oh my God, Abel.
Bada boom. First ever
There we
appearance on a
go.
live stream. Okay, so check this out. Here's what's remarkable. Every single Scientology organization you've ever heard us talk about is at the very bottom.
That's because we are losers.
Yeah. Class 4 organizations, we're going to call them, they're called class 5 organizations now.
Right.
That's literally any Scientology organization you've ever walked into, because that's the only place you can actually join Scientology, other than these missions down here, which don't count. Celebrity centers are right there next to the class 5 organizations. Remember, in the beginning of the stream, we explained that celebrity centers are class 5 organizations. Okay. Sea Org service organizations, that's where you can do your OT levels. And everything else on this damn chart is way too many chiefs
But there's
and not enough Indians.
Hang on. Go back. There's CCN. We're just above the CLO. You see that tiny little sliver, how we are just above the CLO? We used to brag about that. We're just below flag, but we're just above the CLO because we technically were a CLO. So we got to be on par. But they didn't run us, so we got to be like a hair above them.
That's right. FSO here refers to Flag Land Base at the Clearwater Organization, the Flag Service Organization. FSSO refers to the Free Winds. We're not going to worry about the CMO units. Those are not relevant. This Flag Command Bureau was renamed the Flag Liaison Office and then renamed the International Liaison Office. That is the big building on Hollywood Boulevard, where the L. Ron Hubbard Life exhibit, the Life exhibition
Hollywood
is
and
located.
Ivar. Yeah.
Hollywood Boulevard and Ivar. That's where that international justice chief works. And then everything above that on the org board is in the secret management headquarters out in Gilman Hot Springs near San Jacinto. Right. And yes, San Jacinto is how I'm told the locals pronounce it. Thank you. San Jacinto, okay? Not San Jacinto. It
is San Jacinto, but that's okay. You can say it however
I did a YouTube video asking people to tell me how it was pronounced. I was told the locals say San Jacinto.
Is that the local white people or is that the
Yeah. Well, it's not the natives.
No.
Although there is an Indian reservation there. So maybe someone should ask them how to say San Jacinto. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no.
All right.
Yeah, it's in Hemet. Just say it's in Hemet. That's easier.
It's not in Hemet. It's not in Hemet.
I know.
Okay. Golden Air Productions, that's where Mark Headley worked. Up here, Religious Technology Center, that's where Claire Headley worked under David Miscavige.
Even though it's on one campus.
It's all on one campus. Nora, when you were in the Sea Org, did you realize that the people at INT didn't consider the people at Gold to be part of INT?
No, but I found that out later when I was on the RPF with half of them. Yeah, one morning we woke up, and the RPF had gone from 150 people to almost 400 people. And we were like, what happened? And they just bust like the entire int RPF down one night because David canceled the int RPF and just sent them all down to pack.
Wow.
Yeah. He was like, I'm tired of seeing these disgusting people. And that was when he started the whole, because he wanted to do the whole and he couldn't put, you know, Mike and all them in their little box with all the regular people running around because that would have caused a stir. So he sent the regular people away to pack to be with the other heathens. Yeah. And so it like tripled the size of the RPF literally overnight. And so all these int people were like mingling with the grody underlings, and they were very unhappy and very spoiled and very privileged. And we're like, excuse me, do you know that I am from gold? And we're like, Bish, you're on the RPF too. Your rank is 0. Like, I don't have to call you nothing. Except for get out the way.
Wild. So just to answer some of this money question, because the truth is I'm not sure I really know the answer. All of the service orgs have to send money up to the CLO. I don't remember orgs also sending money to the Flag Bureau or INS. I don't know how that works.
Oh, no, you absolutely do. So first of all, you send money as a class 5 org to several places. So you send money to, well, you guys sent money to the CLO. You also sent money. Now we all had to send money. Don't forget, you're renting all of those movies from where? Where are we renting them from? We're renting them from Gold because you never own your films. So
yeah, but the Gold rep is at the CLO. But the Gold rep is at the CLO.
But you're still sending that money directly to Gold. And then you have to pay for the rights to the films. And where do you pay that money to? To RTC. So every week you're paying for the film itself to Gold. And then you're also paying for the right to show the film to RTC for the trademark on the films.
So I was on the financial planning committee at ASHO, and I just don't remember any of that shit at all. We just gave all the money to the FBO. She took her cut, and the FBO just took her cut, and she did whatever her cut, I guess, was sent wherever it sent. Like we at ASHO did not send money specifically to the CLO and Flag and RTC and Gold. I know that. So is that what you guys did at CCN?
Everybody had to do that.
I'm not saying the money didn't go there. I'm saying it didn't go there directly from us as separate line items.
The FBO probably distributed her line items there. But every week, every org, and this is another great scam. So Gold in the 70s and 80s, let's face it, in the 90s, they produced like 10 films with Jason McGay, which has now all been edited because he's gone. But like they produced like another maybe 10, 12 films. The bulk of the films, as we know, were made in the 70s and 80s when L. Ron was still alive, and then a few after his death. These crappy films that we all watched 10 million times. And they were, mass produced, and they're all reel to reel, et cetera, until they finally digitized them in the late 90s. And then they sent each org, 1 or 2 copies of the films, and you have to purchase those. You have to purchase your copy of the film. And then every week you have to pay for that purchased copy. And then you have to pay for the rights of it every week. This is another great scam. Besides the fact that they tried to convince me after I left that, 8 CDs that they had produced were worth, $300 after, my ex-husband and I were buying a literal CD producing shop. We had like priced it out, and they showed me the machine that like mass produces CDs. And they explained to me that, like when you have one of these machines mass producing CDs, that literally costs like 3 cents per CD. And then I laughed at the person's face, and I was like, that is the dumbest thing that you've ever said to me. Like, I know exactly how much it costs to do that. Like, a 5-year-old. He's in a kindergarten class. That's where he is.
From Stacy Y. You know, the other nice scam that's been and the e-meter scam, it's been replaced by a new version of the e-meter scam, is every single e-meter that's sitting around in collecting dust in class 5 orgs. Is it 2 years? You have to pay Golden Era Productions $200 to look at your e-meter, make sure it's still operating correctly, and give it what's called a silver certificate. So
right. I think is it every year?
I was trying to remember. I was about to say 6 months, and I was like, no, it wasn't every 6 months.
I think it's every year you have to get
It
your
very
meter
well
silver
could be
studded.
every year. So $200 per year Golden Era Productions is collecting per e-meter that anyone has anywhere.
Yeah.
If you use an e-meter that has an expired silver cert, that's like a crime. Pretty big deal. But now the new e-meter scam is it's digital. You just have to plug it in to an internet connection, and it verifies if your IAS membership is up to date, and there's some fee, and if it is, the software gets unlocked again, and if it's not, your e-meter turns into a brick. And that's to prevent people from selling e-meters online for use in the independent Scientology field. You cannot get a functioning Mark 8 e-meter. Although if somebody will send me one, I have a friend who has offered to hack it and unlock it.
I love it.
Yes.
The other reason, like, let's be honest, I think the other reason, let's be honest, why these are hooked up to the internets now is just another way for them to spy on sessions and for them to like see what is going on. Because if I don't know, do you have to be jacked in during your sessions as well?
No, but all the ideal orgs, all the new e-meters with the new, actually, let me just answer this question real quick. Ms. Pillow, if you email me at growingupinscientology@gmail.com, I'll send you a copy of this PDF. There's nowhere online to download it. I pieced this thing together myself from the actual freaking booklet and scanned it myself. That's how I created this damn thing. So the thing is, all the ideal orgs have a new recording system where the e-meter action doesn't actually just get recorded on a video. It gets recorded as a data file on a computer that will replay on an e-meter. So you can replay the entire auditing session, but just also the e-meter
dummy meter.
On a dummy meter. And so you're looking at it, you're listening in, but you're also looking at the e-meter yourself.
Oh my
God.
And
it's not recorded to tapes, it's recorded to a hard drive, a central hard drive. So these things don't get erased. So in other words, the auditing worksheets now are almost a formality. The case supervisor doesn't even need them. He can just go watch. Anything in your handwriting that he can't read, he can just pull up the auditing session and rewatch it. So, I mean, if you believe in the process of auditing, that's pretty cool to be able to do all that. But it's also like everything you've ever said in an auditing session is recorded on a computer. That's pretty scary.
No, thank you.
I know, right? That's absolutely insane.
Oh my God. I mean, also though, maybe cool though for future litigation, because I can say from personal experience, most of the cuckoo stuff that happens in auditing sessions, if it were replayed in a court of law, hopefully would just end Scientology instantaneously, because it is just not like, I just watched that whole Netflix documentary on the that sex cult, the One Taste situation. I'm trying to remember the name of the documentary now.
I think I know what you're talking about, but I think Heather watched it, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah. Oh my God. And like just watching back the testimony of the people who were involved in that. I mean, like this lady, I mean, she borrowed from like everything. She borrowed partially from Scientology, and also watching like, part of the documentaries about Nixon and other things. Orgasmic meditation. My wife just texted me to let me know. That's what the name of the documentary was.
One Taste, same thing.
Yeah, One Taste. Well, One Taste is a Buddhist concept. It was like this is where she stole it from. It was like the Buddha had said just like the ocean has one taste of salt, so does, like this whole other thing. And that's where she got the name One Taste from. And then, like she came up with this whole orgasmic meditation and then just like turned sex on its head. And it's like this whole thing, but it's a fascinating documentary. But like Nixon and these other things, and in Scientology included, this whole like warping your mind around a central leader and all this other stuff, just absolutely fascinating to see where all of that leads you, and then like the people who have left and like how similar all of our journeys are, like getting out and like, removing yourself. Now, things like One Taste just sort of end up like folding overnight, like their buildings are closed and turned into other things and like all this other stuff. And we're talking about like, these CCs like sort of just like getting absorbed by the Borg and like, okay, we have to huddle together. And like, Scientology is shrinking so rapidly, clearly. And they're just kind of like trying to huddle together, like that scene in Happy Feet, like where all the like little penguins are just trying to be together to stay against the storm, like, it's getting cold, like that is what's happening with Scientology right now. Like they're freaking out,
Yeah.
It's not looking good for them, like period, and if all of the outer celebrity centers, I'll say this, if all of the outer celebrity centers fall, ultimately, that's not going to destroy Celebrity Center International, unfortunately,
No.
because they don't need them to survive, unfortunately, because ultimately most people outside of like insiders and things like that didn't even really know there's a Celebrity Center Dallas or Portland or New York or anything else, really.
If those orgs had actually been sending any money to Celebrity Center wouldn't have let them close.
No. And if they had ever produced anything of note, Dave Miscavige wouldn't have let them close.
Right.
But they've never done anything. They've never won the birthday game. They've never done anything important. They've never produced anything special.
Right.
So it doesn't matter.
But so it's funny, the question I asked earlier about how could CCN possibly still be managing CC London if it exists is like, imagine getting a telex from CCN to the CC, to the ED, CC London, go do an inspection of your course rooms. And he's like, we don't have any supervisors, and those aren't our supervisors. We can't inspect them. We can't issue cramming orders. We can't do anything because that guy isn't our staff member. We don't have any course soups. We don't have any auditors.
Because just as you pointed out before about like the false statistics and all this other stuff, right? They are doing things that are giving statistics, right? So in your example, go inspect the course rooms. So let's say one celebrity's on course somehow at the London org that is doing a celebrity course. And let's say somehow the ED of the Celebrity Center is also supervisor trained. So that ED would then be souping them in a separate corner of the course room, who would then do the inspection of the course room and then send a compliance report for that whole thing. And boom, thinking about a boom, statistic. I've got a whole, and there's your statistic for the president's office. And that's how those things work, because the ED is literally every staff member in the org. You need a senior CS. I'm the senior CS. I'm also the examiner. I'm also the auditor. I'm also the everything. So like whatever job, I am job.
Right. Okay, from Goldie, can you hook Nora up with Alexander? He wants to interview her. Also, next time you go live 12 times in a day, can you share whatever you're on?
Did you go live 12 times today?
No, you're my third. And the only reason I did that is because I didn't do anything all day until like 5 or 6 o'clock, like on YouTube, that is. And so then, so first I did, no, it was probably more like 7 o'clock. I did Alexander. Well, Alexander was the first live stream that I did with, and then I did Jeff Augustine, and now you. So yeah, sure. Alex, I'll send you Nora's email, or you can find her on social media as well, but I'll send you an email.
I don't know who Alex is, but all right.
Oh, he's former London staff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, look, here we go. Catherine S. But will you get a very well done if the CS can't read your worksheets? No, you'll still get a cram on that. Still get a cram on that for sure. Jay Dice. So basically, this scam is a well-oiled machine churning out BS for profit, and everyone takes their cut and squeezed for every penny. Scientologists are none the wiser. If so, run,
Boom.
Satan's run. 100%. One of the most obvious questions sometimes Scientologists do ask, but then the ethics officer says, shut your filthy mouth, is if we're trying to get everyone in the world into Scientology, why are our prices so expensive that not even Scientologists who are already in Scientology can afford to go up the bridge? And that's just one of those questions that is so screamingly obvious, but anyone who asks it is like just beat down.
Because you will make it go right, Aaron.
Yeah.
If you are tone 40 and you are upstat, then you will make it go right. Okay, because that is what you do.
Yeah. Scientology's there to make the able more able.
That's
but
right.
The funny thing is, but again, I think this is one of the reasons Miscavige doesn't like old timers. He wants to get rid of the old timers, and the more he does these new evolutions, the more old timers fall away. Because an old timer would go, but under L. Ron Hubbard, the prices were affordable. Anybody could do Scientology back in the day. Price wasn't an obstacle. And that's the kind of stuff Miscavige doesn't want people bringing up.
They hook you in with the $50, little tiny, secret to success, the basics. They get you with the little, every org has that, the little $50 course. Even the Purif is kind of affordable still, right? And then the next course, $8,000. An intensive of auditing now is what, like 10 grand. I mean, it's like insane. So they just, it goes from like literal pennies, or they get you like a free seminar at Celebrity Center. They're always they're handing out free seminars like Tic Tacs. And then they just want you to pay bajillion dollars. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's real dumb.
Courtney Thavet looks like a Dungeons and Dragons worksheet. I don't know what a Dungeons and Dragons worksheet is.
That makes sense because L. Ron Hubbard was in a secret sex magic cult. So, with Aleister Crowley. So, tracks.
So, I mean, the most exposure I've had to Dungeons and Dragons is the TV show Stranger Things, and I didn't see them keeping worksheets.
Aaron, they are doing a reboot of Dungeons and Dragons. Here's a Scientology connections to Dungeons and Dragons. The original Dungeons and Dragons movie starred I don't think he actually did any more Scientology past when we were children's together at a Scientology school, Justin Whalen, but he starred in the original Dungeons and Dragons film. I did beat him out when we were in school together for the lead as the Grinch in The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. Thank you very much, even though he was a Broadway star at the time. But he did star as in the original Dungeons and Dragons, and they're rebooting that movie. Thank you very much, starring the great Christopher Pine.
I have never heard of a Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Come on. It's like a
Seriously.
90s great, floppy, terrible movie that you must see, but also wait to see the great one with Christopher Pine. But yes, if you want to see a horrible movie starring Justin Whalen and Marlon Wayans, please see the old Dungeons and Dragons.
You're going to be a little surprised here. It says here on IMDb that Dungeons and Dragons came out in 2000.
Okay, maybe it's 2000. I don't know. I was on the RPF when it came out. I saw it later. Listen, anything from 2000 to 2002 is a blank slate for me. I saw it later.
And that makes sense because I wasn't watching a lot of movies in 2000. That's when I went back to Philadelphia to finish my staff contract.
Anything from March of 2000 to November 2002, I was on the RPF. I apologize if I get that wrong.
It's pronounced Aleister Crowley. I tell people this all the time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Crowley.
Did you say Crowley?
I said Crowley. Well, he's dead. So
it's amazing. But if you say Crowley, it gives you massive street cred.
It gives me more street cred. Okay, it's Crowley. Well, he was another, poopy cult leader, crazy person, trying to keep the portal to hell open with his.
Hubbard never met Crowley. Hubbard never met Crowley. He only worked
No.
with Parsons, who was a student
Right.
of
He was
Crowley's,
friends
right?
with Jack Parsons. Yes.
Yeah. And people ask all the time whether Scientologists know about that connection. And it's like, yeah, Hubbard spoke about it all the time. He was super proud of it.
In the early days, he spoke about it when he was lecturing in the 50s in like Phoenix, and when he was lecturing in the early days of California, before he formed the formal Church of Scientology, when he was in his Dianetics days. And if you listen to like the Phoenix lectures and you listen to that other set of lectures from the DC, where he talks about, you know, the body switching and stuff like that, where they made me listen to that like 300 times because I'm the gay, you know, like you wake up in a man body and what are you supposed to do? Blah, 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 that whole DC lectures. The Freedom Congress, boom, that's the one. The early lectures from the 50s, like forming the Church of Scientology and going to St. Hill and all that stuff, all throughout there. Talks about it, talks about magic, talks about all kinds of stuff. And in the series of books, what's that series of books that he wrote after like 8808 and all that stuff? 8808 is pretty weird. That whole series of books is super weird. So like the history of man, what? Yeah, like all that kind of stuff. Like you want to read some weird sauce stuff, read that. Like hello, yeah, all throughout there. And I'm trying to think of that series of books that's like it's reference books, but only if you're like
series
really
of books. I don't even
There's
know what
a
you mean.
series of like reference books that weren't the Tech Falls or the OEC Falls, but it was like another series of reference books. The Philadelphia Lectures.
The Philadelphia Doctorate Course?
Yes, thank you. The PDC.
Oh, got it.
But it was the books, you know, the other books that
they
came
weren't
out.
books. I mean, what do you mean books?
There's the printed ones, the blue ones. Do you know the ones I'm talking about? The blue volumes. They used to sit on the shelves.
The Research and Discovery series.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
In there, in the secret volumes that nobody read.
Oh, yeah,
it's all in there. It's all in there. All of the magic stuff is in the R&D series.
Right. Yeah, nobody ever read those.
No, because it's not on any courses.
Right.
It's not on any courses. And so they just sat collecting dust, and now they've been canceled.
Right.
They got removed from all the orgs because that's where all of the magic stuff and all of the wee stuff is. So if you want to read like Elrond's like wee, like that's where all that is in the R&D series.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, it's midnight my time. I gotta head off to a jet plane tomorrow morning, and you do as well. So let's sign off, but don't go anywhere because I want to just chat with you afterwards for a sec. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. Thanks to everyone who watches until the very end, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe right here. Bye.